I'll give you a guess. That's right. We're making our own laundry detergent today. This is another way that we save money in our household. We never buy detergent, and we make 10 gallons at a time. So it lasts us about a month and a half. It's probably sounds like not enough time, but we have a fashionista, 12-year-old living in this house who changes clothes about 3 times a day probably because she goes to school. She comes back, she has her dance class every day except Monday, and then she's got her night clothes. So we have a lot of laundry. And on top of that, we also take care of our little 2-year-old niece full-time, so she's here 5 days a week. And you know how little ones are. They go through a lot of clothing as well. So we definitely have a lot of laundry to be washed, and if I were to purchase detergent, it would break the bank. So we make it. I've been making my own detergent for years now, even before Liz and I got together. But she was not sold right at the beginning. She was like, you do what? Do you make your own detergent? How does that work? But once I did it and she washed her first load of laundry with it, she was convinced. So we are all on the same money-saving train when it comes to detergent. And in fact, she is constantly giving little samples to her family members and encouraging them to do the same because it's so cheap to make and it washes so good. Everyone, I'm sure, has this recipe. It's very simple and basic. It's the Duggar family recipe. No fancy little extras. I don't even add any essential oils to it because we have so many allergies in this house, and I know that they're all natural and that kind of thing, but even certain scents give me a migraine, so I just don't use anything, and it works great. What you'll need to buy is 20 Meal Team Borax, Arm & Hammer Super Washing Soda, not to be confused with baking soda, and a bar of Fells Naphtha. All of these items I purchased at my local grocery store, can't spoke right, my local grocery store, and they were found in the laundry detergent aisle to make things easy on me. In addition to that, you're going to need I do it this way. I use 2 of the big 5-gallon buckets, and I have 2 lids that go with those buckets. You're also going to need a pot. This is about a 4-quart size. It doesn't need to be this big. It could be about half the size. But you're going to need it to melt the soap. And if you have one, of course, use it. The grater attachment for the KitchenAid is a lifesaver when making soap. Otherwise, you can just grate it by hand using a regular old cheese grater. I did that for a long time too. And this, I just put the pot right at the edge of it. So as I grate, it'll fall right in the pot. Open up your bar of soap and it smells really good. Smell that? And you're just going to stick it in here if you have one. It's hard to do with my left hand while looking through just the camera. It's kind of weird actually. Alright. And turn the puppy on. And there's my finely shredded soap. I'm just going to take a minute here to go a little bit higher speed and grate the whole thing. Yep, I'm pretty much done. Okay, now I'm going to add 4 cups of warm tap water to this. Sorry you hear the faucet in the background. And then I'm going to put it on the stove and just stir it until it all melts. I just have it on low, like on barely even a notch above simmer. And it's already starting to melt because the water was already warm. and I had grated it so finely, which is key, I think, for less cooking time. But you want this to completely melt. You want to keep an eye on it though, because if you have it on too high, it will boil over and it's a nightmare. I learned from experience. So keep it on low, just slow and steady wins the race, and you will soon get the results that you are looking for. It's been on the stove for a good 10 minutes. It is almost there, but there's still some particles, so not quite ready. While the soap is melting, I'm going to go ahead and get the other ingredients ready, and you're going to need a cup of washing soda and half a cup of borax, and I'm just going to measure them together in this 2-cup measuring cup. There's my cup of washing soda and half a cup of borax. Don't worry about the lumpy stuff because we're going to dissolve it in water. My 5-gallon bucket, and filled it about halfway with hot water from the tap. I didn't boil it or anything. And I'm just pouring the soap and the borax right in there. Well, of course, by soap I meant washing soda. And now I'm just going to give that a stir. And I want to stir it until it pretty much dissolves. You shouldn't feel it grainy anymore. It's fairly quick. Yeah, it's just about there. But I still feel it on the bottom. I'll come back to my soap, which I think is pretty much done. And I'm going to pour this into the bucket as well. This is going to be really tricky, but what I do is I pour it through a strainer. I can't even like move my... There we go. One-handed. Okay, so I still had some pieces in there. Now, if I had more than just this little teeny tiny bit, I would have scraped that back into the pot, added more water, and melted it further. But I don't think that's going to make or break my soap, so I'm just going to discard it. I'm just going to combine the soap, the water, the washing soda, and the borax. It feels really smooth. I don't feel any grains at all. And now I'm just going to fill the bucket with more hot water. Here's another little tip I couldn't show you, but when pouring hot water into the bucket, I use the pot that I cooked the soap in to transfer the hot water, and I pour it right through the strainer. So where I had a lot of little tiny particles, I only have a few left, and I kept pouring that hot water through it, and not only gave me the opportunity to use all of the soap that was left on, like the film that was on the pot, but also just melt some of these little particles further. So that actually maximizes your bar, like you get to use more of it. So I filled it till it was about an inch from the top or so, and I'm just going to cover this tightly and let it sit overnight. Of course, before you cover it, you want to give it another stir, but careful, don't burn yourself. It's very, very hot in here. Here's a little tip for you. When you close this tightly, if you're making this for the first time, you're going to realize that by tomorrow morning when you try to pull the lid off, it's going to be really hard. So to prevent that, you see this little teeny tiny hole? I just stabbed it with the tip of the knife, and that just gives it enough airflow so that it can be opened a lot easier. So you just want to seal this tightly and let it sit. I just want to also show you that it's not that hard to do this, not even that messy. I only have to wash my pot, the spatula I stirred it with, my KitchenAid attachment, my measuring cup, and the strainer. That's it. There's really no other mess involved. Alright, it's the next day, and I am opening this up. You can see that it's nice and solid. It's got a lot of solid chunks. If you stick your hand in here, it's really weird. It's really jelly, but it's really thick jelly. So now what I'm going to do is transfer half of this into the second bucket. Now I've got 2 buckets, 50-50, and I'm going to top them both off with water. And now that they're full to the top, I went ahead and stuck my arm in there and mixed them both really, really good. and you end up with nice gel-like detergent, 10 gallons for a little under $4. This is our money-saving tip for the second week. Hope you enjoyed this video, and you should go ahead and try to make your own detergent. It's really worth it.